building systems makes you want to crawl under a weighted blanket, you are not alone. But what if symptoms weren't about efficiency, but were actually a way to care for your nervous system? Hi, I'm Jenny Hughes, founder of the Brave Trauma Therapist Collective. And if you've been following this summer series, we'll link to the other two videos up here. We've been talking about how slowing down doesn't always feel good and how rest isn't enough unless it meets your actual needs. This week, we're turning to one of the most powerful ways to protect that work by building nervous system safe systems. That's a lot of S words there. Now, this is not the kind of systems that push you to do more. They're the kind that help you feel more human in your practice. First, though, if you're like me, the word systems probably brings up some tension. Like it's about optimization, RVUs, control, or doing things faster. That's because not all systems are trauma informed. Some are just externalized pressure. They're perfection in spreadsheet form. And the reality is that if you're a trauma therapist, you're already running dozens of invisible systems. This is things like how you prep for sessions, how you recover from intense days or weeks, or how you manage your cancellations or end your week. The goal here with this video is to help you make just a few of those systems a bit more intentional, so you don't have to rebuild yourself from scratch every single busy season. And that's also why we're talking about this as a nervous system safe system. One that creates clarity in your practice without being super rigid. A system that lowers reactivity and decision fatigue and helps you stay connected to what actually matters in your work. These are systems that are built around your needs, your capacity, and your natural rhythms, not anyone else's. And when you approach systems in this way, it stops being about pressure and starts creating scaffolding to hold you up. These kinds of systems don't just make your work easier, they help you reconnect with yourself. Because every time you remove one invisible stressor, you create space for presence. And when you have capacity to be more present, your clinical work is going to feel so much less draining and so much more rejuvenating. You are going to leave a hard session and still feel like you're in the room with you as opposed to way off somewhere else. Now, before we get into the nitty gritty, before we get tactical, let's take a breath together. So if you can, press your feet into the floor. I'm doing it right now. Maybe soften your gaze. You can close your eyes if you want. And then ask yourself, what is one invisible rhythm or habit that's already helping me stay afloat in my work? Let yourself reflect on it. And remember, it could be little things like how you start each week or how you decide to space out your clients in your schedule. That is the root of a system, something that you're already doing. Okay, we're going to start there. We don't need to recreate the wheel. And while we're here, one more layer. What would it feel like to protect that rhythm, to build around it instead of just hoping that it holds up on its own? Well, that's exactly where we're going with 3 types of systems that will actually help you do more sustainable work as a trauma therapist. So when you're ready, we'll go ahead and transition. The first system that we'll talk about is our energy system. These are systems that help you protect your capacity, not just your time. So this could be things like color-coded blocks in your calendar. So maybe you have green for admin, yellow for creative stuff, and red for the really, really serious stuff. One pro tip, I learned this from my friend and colleague, Michelle Risser. Be mindful of the colors that you choose for this, because if you all of a sudden see a wall of red in your calendar because you made all of your sessions red, it could activate things in you that you were not really intending. And I point this out because the goal here isn't productivity, it's to have clarity for your brain and body. So just be careful about the colors that you choose and where you use them and why. One way to go even further with this is to track your daily energy just for a week. I'm not talking about your time, but your energy. You can do this in lots of different apps or even just pen and paper each day by rating your energy as high, medium, or low. Then you'll start to see where support needs to actually go, and you can respond to that in kind. And for anyone watching who is assumed female at birth, you can also align this with the cycle of your hormones and see how your energy fluctuates each month. With all this tracking, you then have so much data on what kinds of clients or tasks or cycles deplete you versus the ones that energize you. And noticing this gives you the foundation that you need to build smarter systems. The second system we're going to talk about is workflow systems. This is kind of what we often think about when it comes to this concept. But in this context, we're talking about workflow systems that are going to reduce reactivity and help your nervous system feel safe. So, this could be a simple end of the week checklist. Make sure I closed out my notes, I tracked my payments, I'm ready for Monday. When we do things like this and we have fewer open loops, we're going to have then more space to exhale at the end of the week. If you're in a group practice or you work at an agency, you can adapt this to whatever you need in your context. Maybe it is making sure you hit that team wrap up at the end of the week or water cooler check in. Or it could just be knowing what you need to feel finished at the end of the day, week, or month. You may even build a beginning of day workflow. And so noticing what helps you enter your work more fully. The third system that we'll talk about today are boundary systems. These are internal and external ways that you protect your values and your energy. It's like having an auto reply during time off that says, I will respond after such and such date. Mine literally says, I will not have access to email. There's no explanation needed. It just gets sent right away. You can even have your autoresponder on all the time so that important information like your working hours, whether you're taking new clients or not, your cancellation policy, emergency procedures, that all of these are available anytime someone emails you. You can also build systems around saying no. For example, use a pre-drafted message for consults or referrals that you're not taking. Being able to copy and paste that stuff takes out the emotional labor and then keeps you anchored to what you're doing in the work that you love. Then we can have boundary systems that support re-entry, like blocking off your first day back from vacation as admin only, or making sure that there are non-negotiable debriefs after really hard sessions. These systems don't need to be perfect, none of them. They do need to serve you, though. So, which one are you going to start with? Let us know in the comments, okay? Now, we're going to shift gears a little bit here from systems that hold you up to scaffolds in our practice that will help you grow without collapsing. Building scaffolds into your work means you have supports that are flexible enough to evolve with you, supports that are built to reduce pressure, not apply it, and designed to hold your process, not just your performance. We're going to talk about 3 ways that you can start building supportive scaffolds into your summer right now. The first is Soft Start Mondays. This is where you do your best to protect the first 60, maybe even 90 minutes of your week. That means no sessions, just intention, presence, and checking in with yourself before checking on anyone else. If you're in agency or group practice settings, again, you can modify this to match your setting. Talk to your supervisor about how you can begin your week. Maybe you can have 15 minutes of protected time. Even that can shift your whole day and week. The second is support day templates. So pick one day per week, or maybe a half day if you have less flexibility, as your non-client day. Use it for catch up, creative thinking, or taking care of yourself tasks. Create a repeatable structure that signals this day supports me. You don't have to make it sacred or perfect, just consistent enough that your body starts to expect it and expect support. Think of it like a rhythm you can return to when everything else gets busy again. The third are anchoring phrases. This is where you choose a grounding phrase to pair with different tasks. So maybe before billing, you say, "This helps me create space and money." Before checking email, I can be present without rushing. These little cues help you shift the task from performance into presence. They remind your body that you are in charge. And when repeated enough, they actually become part of your regulation toolkit. Now, let's come back to you. What is one supportive rhythm that you're already using, even if you've never called it a system? And what's one thing that you want to refine, not for efficiency, but for sustainability? If you want to write it down, speak it out loud, or share it with a colleague or in the comments, do it. These small moments of naming and noticing, that is where sustainability starts. And that's how we interrupt the cycle of burnout before it spirals. And inside of the Brave Trauma Therapist Collective, we're doing this together right now. We don't just build systems, we build scaffolds that serve our nervous systems with reflection, support, and community. Every summer, we help trauma therapists turn their rhythms into real practices that last. If you're ready for that kind of support, I'd love for you to join us. The link is in the description below. Do not have to do this work alone, and you can jump in anytime. You don't have to do this work perfectly either. You just have to be willing to build something that actually supports you.